I'm going to recount the tale of the unforgiving servant. The king entered the palace to the sound of the imperial fanfare. All his subjects rose.
My loyal subjects.
It was the day of the king's. It was the king's day to settle accounts with his subjects, and for them to settle accounts with him. Before the order of business commenced, the king called for the royal implements. The king called for his royal gavel.
Keeper of the royal gavel, please bring it here.
The keeper came forward and presented the royal gavel to the king. The king called for his royal ledger.
Keeper of the royal ledger, please bring it here.
And the keeper of the king's ledger came forward and presented the ledger to the king. The king called for his royal pen.
Keeper of the king's pen, please bring it here.
And the keeper of the pen came forward and presented the royal pen to the king. And the king began to settle accounts with his servants. He called forth one servant after another, and then he called for one called the unjust servant. His name was Unjust. And so,
servant, unjust, present yourself before me.
The unjust servant came forward timidly and stood before the king. The king spoke.
According to my ledger, your debt is $100,000, and it is time to pay.
The unjust servant hung his head in shame and said to the king in a quiet voice,
"O king, I cannot pay."
The king didn't hear him, and the king said to the servant, Unjust.
What did you say?
The unjust servant replied in a louder voice, hanging his head,
"O king, I cannot pay."
The king banged his royal gavel and said,
Guards! Take this unjust servant, his wife, his children, and everything he has, and sell him in the market to pay the debt.
At this announcement from the king, there was great consternation and wailing from the servant's family. And the unjust servant fell down, wailing. More wailing! wailing. And the unjust servant fell on his knees before the king and begged the king for mercy.
"Be patient with me, and I will pay everything."
And the king had compassion on his plight of his servant and said,
Guards, cancel that order. Cancel that last order, please. Your debt is forgiven. You are free to go.
And the servant went out from the room and found another servant who owed him $100. He took that servant by the throat and said, "Pay me what you owe." The servant pleaded for patience and he would pay all he owed. The servant unjust was not impressed and he took the servant to jail until the debt was paid. The word of this action soon travelled throughout the palace and came to the ear of the king. The king, we need somebody to whisper that to the king. Yeah. The king called his guards.
Guards, bring this servant to me.
And the guards brought the servant unjust to the king's presence. The king was angry and stood up and said,
You wicked servant! I forgave you all your debt because you begged me. Because I had compassion on you, you should have forgiven and had compassion on your fellow servants. I, the just and good king, showed grace to you. If you are to live in my kingdom, you should have shown grace to your fellow servants. Take him away. Hand him over to the inland revenue and prison. They can get blood out of a stone